Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to World of Darkness. I'm your lovely host, Kailvin, and this is a tabletop RPG that I have been playing on a weekly basis with my subscribers in Twitch. And we play this twice a week on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm deciding to try and open this up to people who don't normally attend my streams. A lot of people often ask me to do things with my subscribers, and this is my attempt to reach out. Those of you that have never played a tabletop RPG, it's generally done with a tabletop, pen and paper, but thanks to the magical marvels of modern technology, we're able to do it over the internet using what's called a virtual tabletop. In particular, we are using Fantasy Grounds, which is a nice tabletop. I use it for other things as well. And, yeah. I'm going to be teaching you guys a bit about it, and I hope to be able to see you tomorrow? Probably tomorrow. Anyway, Vampire the Masquerade, in particular, takes place in a greater set of series called The World of Darkness. And in Vampire the Masquerade, the players play as vampires, if you couldn't guess. And the namesake of the game, the Masquerade, is actually a set of rules that the vampires have to follow, because they must hide themselves from humanity. Although at one point they might have been able to beat the crap out of humans and, rule the world, automatic weapons, tanks, and, flamethrowers, napalm, all that fun stuff. As it turns out, humans are now higher on the food chain than vampires, so they must keep to the shadows and keep hidden. No human must ever find out that vampires are real. Anyway, so where were we? Right, so that's the basis for the game, and it works off a system called the Storyteller system, which just simply means that it involves rolling a lot of d10s. I'm just going to open up the character selection thing here. We have a pile of characters already, made from people who have been attending the stream, so we're just going to open up the first one. This guy is Cackletron. He's played by Defy Magnet. And this is his character sheet. It's a pretty basic character sheet. It's got your attributes, strength, dexterity, stamina. Anyone who's played D&D will instantly recognize those three. Charisma, manipulation, appearance, perception, intelligence, wits, and a whole whack load of abilities. And this is fine. This is great. Good character. And we're going to be going through the creation process of a character, actually. So we're just going to create a new sheet here. And we're just going to get started here. So I have with me the core rulebook, which will be available in the comments to download. Yours will look more like this, because this is a fan reprint, I guess. Whereas I'm one of those old-timey guys, and I just can't help myself. All the pretty pictures from a proper scan of the book. So, vampires have a vast quantity of mythos spread from throughout the world. And how does Vampire the Masquerade handle that? Well, vampires are divided into what are called clans, such as Bruja, Gangrel, and I'll be going through them. And different clans have different mythos about them. For example, there's a very common one, in particular, that vampires don't cast a reflection. The clan's weakness here. The somber vampires cast no reflections. They cannot be seen in mirrors, bodies, water, reflective windows, polished metals, photographs, and security cameras. How useful. This curious anomaly even extends to the clothes that they wear and the objects they carry. Many kindred believe that the La Sombra have been cursed in this manner for their vanity. Yes. And they take additional damage from sunlight. So different clans have different strengths and different weaknesses. You have, for example, the Bruja, which, as you can tell, are the hulking, strong, bending steel, lifting cars kind of vampires. You have the Gangrel, which are the commanders of the animals. They can summon the wolves and the bats, the creatures of the night, and command them, even transform into them. Valkavians we'll get to. Nosferatu, they're just ugly. We don't talk about them. And, for example, you also have, say, the Ventru, which are the, shall we say, dominating vampires. They're the ones that look you in the eye and you obey their every word. So there are a pile of different kinds of characters that you can make. Whereas in most RPG games you might choose both a race and a class, in this you simply choose a clan. And the clans are so varied and different from one another, it actually works really well. Like, a Brujah, a Gangrel, a Malkavian, Nosferatu, they all play such completely differently that it is like selecting a different race and class in any other RPG. So we're just going to start with the Brujah. They're the Hulks, they're the Berserkers. I don't really want to call them Berserkers, they're actually closer to what I would consider to be battlefield generals, in a way. They're idealistic, they're rebels, and, well, let's have a look at some of them. They have 3 clan disciplines. A discipline is simply another word for vampiric power. You know, magical blood magic spells, pretty much. Powers of vampiric blood. And in particular, they have 3. Every clan does. This, in particular, Brujah has celerity, potence, and presence. Celerity and potence are actually pretty straightforward. Celerity is super speed. Lets you run really fast, you know, lets you punch real fast, lets you do all sorts of things real fast. Pretty basic. Potence is super strength. It's what allows the Brujah to, say, lift a car and chuck it at his enemy. Which makes these guys rather quite potent warriors, considering they have both super speed and super strength. And finally, they have presence, which is actually nicknamed Nazi powers, because it's about captivating crowds and making them hang on your every word and agree with you, even if they would normally not. So we nickname it Nazi powers. And that makes them, like I said, a bit more of almost a general. They have the capacity to lead men into battle, as well as being an ultimate warrior. Next up we have the Gangrel, who are hunters, I guess. Let's have a look at some of their powers. In particular, their clan disciplines: Animalism, Fortitude, and Protean. Animalism is about commanding the beasts of the night, summoning a horde of rats or raccoons, and even wolves, and even transforming into them eventually, and giving them commands. I mean, you know, a couple wolves show up to help you fight. It can be really useful. Fortitude is similar to potence and celerity. It's super toughness. All the stamina. Lets you take blows. You can just soak bullets for days. You just become a sponge. It's great. And Protean. Protean is an interesting power. It's a transformative power. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the powers of Protean, for example, is to augment your eyes and make you see really good in the dark. And another power is to grow claws from your knuckles that you can slash and attack with. Yeah, there you go. So those are the kinds of things that Protean can do. They're very much so centered around the beast, which I'll get to. And next up we have Malkavian, which... Look at this guy. Look at this clan name written. Look at their symbol. It's a broken mirror. They're crazy. Let's just read their clan weakness off, because it describes them best. Every last vampire of Malkav's blood is irredeemably insane in some form or another. Some attribute this to a curse of the blood, while other lunatics actually call it a special blessing, a gift of insight. When a Malkavian character is created, the player must choose at least one derangement for that character at the time of the embrace. This derangement can be temporarily fought with willpower, but can never be permanently overcome. They are permanently insane. They do, however, have some interesting powers. Auspex is the power of sight. It allows people to tell lies from the truth when they're spoken. It allows you to see people's auras, allows you to see their moods, and, allows you to see through stealth. Dementation is unique to Malkavians. It makes other people go crazy. Yeah. It's all about the crazy. It's crazy magic. It's sanity magic. And as well, we have Obfuscate, which is the power of invisibility. So, they're a lovely trio of powers. Yeah, I don't recommend Malkavians. They're kind of crazy. Just kind of crazy. The Nosferatu, also a clan I can't really recommend, because the Nosferatu, they're ugly. As mentioned, Nosferatu are absolutely loathsome to look at. All Nosferatu have an appearance rating of 0. Cross the automatic dot right off the character sheet. Nor may they improve appearance with experience points. Most useful actions based on impressions, except intimidation and the like, fail automatically. In addition to this, they can't actually be seen by humans. They are so warped and deranged that to be seen by a human is a masquerade violation, which will generally end up with you getting hunted down swiftly and put to death. Vampires take that very seriously. And so the Nosferatu have a nickname called sewer rats, because you'll find they spend most of their time there. You know, human-free areas. They feed on the blood of the rats that live down there. They have animalism, which we talked about already. Obfuscate. Thank goodness they have obfuscate. A little invisibility doesn't hurt for them. And potence. We've talked about these powers already. It's an interesting combination. Super damage, invisibility, and the ability to summon and command animals, and even turn into them. Which actually could be a great way to walk around town, just turn into a wolf or a bat. There you go. The Toreador. They're a lovely bunch. They are artists. In the ultimate sense, I suppose. Toreador are preternaturally attuned to the aesthetic and beautiful, but the sensitivity can prove dangerous. When a Toreador views, hears, or even smells something that is truly beautiful, a person, a painting, a song, a particularly lovely sunrise, he must make a self-control roll, difficulty 6, or become entranced by the sensation. The Toreador will stand in rapt fascination for a scene or until the beautiful thing withdraws. Enraptured Toreador may not even defend themselves if attacked, though being wounded allows them to make another self-control roll to break the spell. Yeah. Just a little pretentious. They have Auspex, which we talked about before, the power of true sight, celerity, the power of super speed, and presence, the power to command the masses. So, they're a bit on the social side, a bit on the leaderish side as well. The Tremere. I'm sure you've seen this name before. It is, after all, my namesake. My favorite clan in this game. Nicknames, Warlocks. They're the Magi. These guys use their blood and power magical spells. They have Auspex, which we talked about, True Sight. Dominate, which is similar to Presence, except it's more affecting one person and it's far more permanent. For example, the first level of Dominate allows you to issue a single word command and the target follows it. You know, most popular things like kneel. Unfortunately, things like suicide don't work, as it turns out if you put them in harm's way. It doesn't really work so well. And Thaumaturgy, which is unique to Clan Tremere, which is blood magic. You can do everything from throwing fireballs to telekinesis, to siphoning blood out of people and putting it into your own veins. And I think Tremere are pretty freaking cool. That's just me personally. And we have the Ventru. These guys are the true blue blood leaders. That's what their nicknames are. In fact, blue blood. They are a rather interesting group. They have both Dominate and Presence, meaning that when it comes to manipulating the mortals, you have practically unlimited resources to do so. And you also have Fortitude, just to give yourself a little tankiness. There you go. Generally a bit more of a combat support and social character. Ventru are pretty good, I would think. Actually, they're pretty good. Pretty good group. They also tend to hold positions of political influence, and are generally higher on the social ladder, shall we say. After all, I mean, you can just see their clan symbol, it's a scepter. But as we move on, that'll quickly become confused with the La Sombra, as theirs is a crown. The Sombra are the Ventru's evil cousins, shall we say. They have Dominate, but they do not have Presence. Instead, they have Potence and Obtenebration. Obtenebration is unique to La Sombra, and it is shadow magic. In particular, it allows you to, say, summon eldritch shadow tentacles, or wrap your body in shadows and extend out your limbs. It allows you to do things like that. That is shadow magic in a nutshell. Unfortunately, it only works when there is a light. So, carrying around a pistol just to shoot out some light bulbs so you can start casting spells and becoming a destruction machine actually is pretty cool. Dominate, so they have the ability to rule over mortals pretty effectively, and potence, so they can just whack out a ton of extra damage. It's good stuff. Good stuff. And then we have Clan Zemisi. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Don't actually try and read it, just read this. Zemisi. These guys are a lovely bunch. Where the Tremere may be blood mages, and the Sombre may be shadow mages, they are flesh mages. In particular, they have Animalism, to command the animals, Auspex for true sight, and Visectitude, which is the power of flesh magic. For example, maybe perhaps he just rubs one hand over another, and all of a sudden his fingers are claws. And that's why they often get some really weird looks. A lot of this, shall we say, odd-looking bits are generally self-inflicted. They're from their own fleshcraft modifications. Which is, a bit unsettling, but they're pretty cool. Though you have to be careful. Turning your hand into a giant sword blade, you can't really walk around with that. People kinda notice that sort of thing, as it turns out. So, you gotta work a little, but they're pretty cool. And next up we have the Assamite. They're the Assassins. They're a fun little group. They have Celerity, so they can move real quick. They have Obfuscate, so they can go invisible. And they have Quietus. Quietus is based around the idea of making things silent. Like, one of their abilities is in fact Zone of Silence that prevents noise from escaping it. No matter how loud they shout, they will never escape the zone. Which, as you can imagine, makes, their job, being assassins, a bit easier. So, I don't really have much to say about them, because, I've already said what I need to say about them. They're assassins. They're the assassins of the vampire world, just as the Tremere are the Magi. Next up, we have the Followers of Set, or Snake Mages, as I call them. I actually have no idea what these guys do. I really wish I could tell you. I've never played one. I've never even seen one played. They're an interesting group. If you want, you can read up yourselves. But I don't really have much insight into them. They have Obfuscate, so they can go invisible. They have Presence to command. And they have Serpentis, which is snake magic. Again, I have not a frickin' clue what that is. And so next up, we're just going to skip them and go to Giovanni. Giovanni are necromancers. It's their nickname, actually. And you'll find that their powers include Dominate, Potence, and Necromancy. You can bind souls to serve as wraith bodyguards, or just raise shambling hordes of the dead. You can touch something to make it age. Hey, necromancy is a pretty valid school of magic. So, I respect the Giovanni. They're pretty good. And they aren't necessarily helpless in combat, though, considering they have potence. They can deal a fair bit of damage. So they aren't relegated to just support. Next up, the Ravnos. The Ravnos are illusion mages. They're gypsy vampires. They're mostly nomadic, but they particularly have Chimerstry. They also have Animalism, which we talked about before, command the animals, and Fortitude for some added toughness. Chimerstry, however, is illusion magic. As you improve levels in it, you will find very quickly that you can start making some very permanent and very problematic illusions. You can make someone think there's a wall, and you can make them think there's a wall so much that they can't pass through that wall, even though it's just a mental illusion. And everyone else can just walk in and out of it in front of them. And they'll just go, why can you walk through that wall? So yeah, Ravnos are fun. They play a lot of mind games. They're pretty cool, though. I like him. So, actually, yeah, you know what? We'll make a Ravnos today. So I'm going to bring this over here. So, the character sheet is pretty basic. So, first off, we're going to fill in the clan. Ravnos. And then we have Generation. Generation is an interesting concept to this game. The first vampire is the biblical Cain, who murdered his brother, Abel. And was thus cursed by God. You know, walk forever, never see the sun, eat only ashes, and drink only blood. And he eventually became the first vampire. So Cain would be the first generation. However, those he bit and turned into vampires would become the second generation. And likewise, those that they bit would become the third. And this actually continues on to the 15th generation. The 15th generation is the weakest generation. And they're also the final generation. We're going to make this one 9th generation. And we're going to look through this. So now we have the attributes. We can choose how these work. Basically, they're divided into 3 particular categories: physical, social, and mental. Physical, social, and mental are the 3 different attribute categories here, and if you mouse over, you'll see them listed. You get to choose which one you like the best. In fact, you order them from best to worst. And I'm going to actually order physical to be my best. Now, because I've decided to make physical my best, I get 7 points to spend. First things first, we're going to raise stamina up to 5. That costs me 4 points. You do start with a point in everything. And that leaves me with 3 points remaining. I'll put 2 into that, and there. There we go, I've spent 7 points throughout my physical now. This gives me pretty good strength, okay dexterity, and a lot of stamina. Stamina is really important. Stamina is what lets you take damage. If you don't have a lot of stamina, even for a vampire, you will die incredibly quickly. It doesn't take much. You know, if you have a poor stamina score, you're in trouble. So, a little bit of tankiness never hurts. And we're actually going to just make social our second. And the reason for this is because it really does help with our powers of illusion magic. In particular, you'll find manipulation does. So we're going to put 3 points in manipulation. Because we've taken social as our secondary, we get 5 points. So I'm just going to even these out like that. So we have decent charisma, decent appearance, and very good manipulation. I should also mention that during the stage, although this does go up to 10, you cannot raise anything above 5. In attributes, anyway. And we'll get to that later. But, so, finally we have mental, which by process of elimination is our worst. Which means we only get 3. Which makes this tricky. Really all 3 of these are useful, so I'm just going to put them up to 2 and call that. That's alright. It's not great, but it'll do. Now, in a similar system is used here for abilities. If we mouse over here, we have talents, skills, and knowledges left to right. Talents, skills, knowledges. And again, we get to decide our best, our medium, and our worst. Our primary, our secondary, and our tertiary. Let's see, we're pretty good at fighting, so I'm actually gonna start with skills. We get 13 points to spend in our primary ability. So, I'm gonna take a couple points in larceny. Larceny is related to thievery. Take a couple points in stealth as well. Point in drive just to make sure. And have a couple points in firearms. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 3 points left. Ooh. Stealth. Larceny. And firearms, yeah. We'll just go with that. Those are some pretty critical skills to have. So we can shoot a gun real good. We can stab with a person with a knife real good. We can steal really good, which is actually important because I didn't go over our clan weakness as a Ravnos. The Ravnos have indulged in their particular vices so long they have become addicted to them. Each Ravnos has a weakness for some form of trickery, deceit, or mischief, whether it be gambling, lying, theft, blackmail, or even cleverly framed murders. Yeah, Ravnos are gypsy vampires. Alright, so 13 for our primary abilities, done. Next up we have 9, which I'm actually going to put in knowledges. No, we're going to put into talents, actually. I'm going to want some alertness. So I got 9 to spend. Put 2 points into brawl, 2 points into awareness. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh shoot, we're over. Alright, we'll ditch awareness. So we have 6, 9, perfect. So we've now spent 13, 9, and finally we get 5, which should be fine. Occult being by far the most useful knowledge. And let's see, academics comes in handy. And so is finance. Sure, there we are. We're getting there. Our character sheet's starting to shape up. So to recap, you get to order your attributes and abilities by group, from your strongest to your weakest. And you can do so in any way you so choose. And then you get 7 for your primary, 5 for your secondary, and 3 for your tertiary for attributes. Then you get 13 for your primary abilities, 9 for your secondary abilities, and 5 for your tertiary abilities. Now, we're going to move on to down here, which is our virtues. I'm going to pump in a conscience and courage. I like that. Let's go with that. We don't really need that much self-control. I'm fine indulging a lot in our clan's weakness, where you have to make self-control rolls fairly frequently. Now, next up, you click down here, and this allows you to add in disciplines. So, we have Animalism, Chimistry, and Fortitude. So due to a slight bug, you have to go back and hit backspace on those. Unfortunately, this character sheet might just be programmed by me. So, user-friendliness, not guaranteed. Not guaranteed at all. So you do automatically start with 1 point in everything. So there you go. That's real easy to finish off. Next up, we do Humanity and Willpower. Humanity and Willpower. This is fairly simple. In order to find your Humanity, you take your Conscience and add your Self-Control. So, 5 points, 6. So we have 6 Humanity. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for your Willpower, you just take your Courage. So since we have 4 Courage, we get 4 Willpower. Willpower is a resource that you can expend through the game, so it's important to keep a hold of it. And you start with 1 full line of blood. There. Also expend 1 blood point every turn. Alright. This is your health. No matter what, this never changes, by the way. You always have 7 health until you're incapacitated. Which is what I was talking about before, stamina. Stamina allows you to soak damage. I'll get to an example of that pretty soon. But for the moment, we're actually pretty much done the character. We've completed the character itself, and now we get what are called freebie points. Freebie points are just a last, little tweak to your character. You get to make some choices. I have conveniently, for everyone's use, written down the freebie point costs. You have 15 freebie points to spend, and these are what they cost to raise. So if I wanted to raise an attribute, it would be 5 of them. If I wanted to raise an ability, it would be 2 of them. If I wanted to raise a discipline, it would be 7. A virtue would be 2. Humanity and Willpower, 1 per dot each, real easy. And that's the good stuff, So I really like illusion magic. I really do. Like, so much I'm going to spend 14 freebie points to raise Chimistry by 2. Because it is just that good. And then I'm going to spend my final freebie point, since we just spent 14 of them, to raise Willpower by 1 point. There you go. Character is more or less actually complete. It's Ravnos, everybody. There you go. So, what does any of this mean, per se? Well, I'll go over this. So, hang on. Chemistry. I'm going to look some things up here. And come on. Ugh. Alright. Animalism. Auspex. Celerity and Chimistry. Here we are. So, I found the Chimistry in the book. And since I've decided to put 3 points into Chimistry, we have the first 3 abilities. Ignis Fatuus. The player must spend a point of willpower to create this illusion. You'll see why I put a fairly decent amount of courage. It lasts until the Ravnos leaves its vicinity. It can may also end the illusion at any time, requires no effort. Yes, so the vampire may conjure a minor static mirage that confounds one's sense. For instance, he may evoke a sulphurous stench, the image of a curtain, or the feel of raw silk. Note that although the tactile illusions can be felt, they have no real substance, and an invisible but tactile wall cannot confine anyone. An invisible razor wire causes no real damage. So, pretty basic. A single sense illusion. Something they can either see, they can feel, they can smell, they can taste, I guess, hear. Can make a terrifying wailing. And, this upgrades now. You can create illusions that appeal to all senses, although they remain static. The vampire can throw a mirage over a dank basement, making it appear to be a sumptuous boudoir, although she could not create a flickering candles or a flowing fountain. So, it's simple, spend a willpower point and a blood point to create it. The static image remains until dispelled. Next up, we have Apparition. Not really a power unto itself, Apparition allows the vampire to give motion to an illusion created with Ignis Fatuus or Fata Morgana. The level 2 power. Thus the Ravnos could create the illusion of a living being, running water, fluttering drapes, or roaring fire. Yeah, the creator spends 1 blood point to make the illusion move in a one specific way. She may change the image's movement only if she has done nothing but concentrate on the mirage since creating it. And, importantly, level 4, Permanency. This power also uses conjunction with the first 2. Allow a mirage to persist even when the vampire cannot see it. In this way, Ravnos cloak their temporary havens and false trappings of luxury, or ward off their trespassers with illusionary guard dogs. The vampire need only spend a blood point, and the illusion becomes permanent until dissolved. That's huge to get. And that's why I really bolted down Chimistry. Because getting to level 4 Chimistry means those permanent illusions. Oof. Which is nice. Horrid Reality is something. It's a lot of text and I'm not going to bother reading it now, so put that off. But we're going to do a quick example of combat. Real quick. So we have our lovely character here. And I still have the combat tracker filled. Alright. Well, I can't use that then. Alright. We're just going to pretend then. So let's say that this person was dueling another. In fact, I probably can open up an encounter for it. Here, let's say he was fighting a police officer. The police officer has drawn his weapon and takes a shot at our lovely Ravnos vampire. And let's see, the police gets to roll a dice pool. In this case, because of what he's doing, firing a gun, he gets to roll his dexterity plus his firearms. This totals 5 dice. That means that you take a d10, that's this one, a tetrahedron, and you can roll 5. It is against a difficulty of 6, meaning that only 6 plus count. He actually gets 4 successes, that's insane. Wow, alright. So he's fired his pistol now at our Ravnos. And he's unfortunately managed to hit with 4 successes. What does this mean for our Ravnos? Well, he's firing a light, simple revolver, standard issue police pistol of some sort. Doesn't really matter what. We'll call it a Colt 1911. I think police still use that. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It's pretty iffy. Either way. So we're just saying he's firing that. That has 4 damage to it. I just know that from memory. Although I can, at any point in time, just simply pull up my list of items here. Light pistol. Damage dice of 4. So, because he's also scored 4 successes, he only needs to use 1 success to hit. The remaining 3 are added to his dice pool for damage. So the weapon, in this case the gun, has a damage pool of 4 by default, plus 3 because he hit very well. That means he actually gets to roll 7 dice. Now, I have a bunch of macros set up down here, so I can just simply click here, and it rolls a bunch of dice for me. It still gets difficulty of 6. Now, thankfully the cop didn't do so well this time. He only gets 2 successes. In particular, you'll notice that the 1 will cancel out a success. A 1 is effectively a negative success. You know, if you get if this was 2 dice and he rolled a 1 and a 6, it would be 0 successes. The 1 cancels out the 6. Alright, cool. So, unfortunately for the police officer, he's only managed to get 2. Now, our Ravnos, he's pretty good. He has stamina. He's got stamina through the roof. He also has a little fortitude. So, bullets aren't particularly lethal to vampires. While they are to humans, vampires are a lot better at taking on bullets. So, we have 5 points in stamina and 1 point in fortitude. What does this mean? Well, this means we get to try and resist the damage. We actually get to roll 6 dice. 5 from stamina and 1 from fortitude. Fortitude is always on. It's automatic. Every time you take damage, it's used. So our Ravnos rolls to try and resist the damage. He gets 2 successes. Pretty poor showing, but it's good enough. He actually shrugs off the damage and takes none. So we don't actually have to reduce his health at all. Which is great. Now, unfortunately, our police officer is mortal. So what does that mean for him? Well, let's say our Ravnos fired a gun back at him. Well, that means that we roll our dexterity plus firearms. Hey, that's 5 dice. So I'm just going to use the macros. 4 successes. That's pretty damn good. Alright. So let's assume we're still shooting a light pistol here. So we have 4 dice plus 3. That means we get to roll 8 dice. Wow, I'm bad at math, or what? 7 dice. Here. Wow, we actually... Oh, good lord. We did no damage. We just shot a guy and hit him real hard and did no damage. Because we are that awesome. Wow. Dice are mean. Dice can be mean. That's rather unfortunate. Alright, so now we're going to say that the police officer's taken out his baton and tries to beat our Ravnos with it. So, he will roll for a baton his dexterity plus his melee. So, 5 dice to hit. Pretty good. 4 successes. Apparently everyone can roll to hit, but nobody can roll damage. Now, damage for a melee weapon is strength plus a number. For example, a sword is strength plus 2. A fire axe is strength plus 3. A knife is strength plus 1. A baton is also strength plus 1. It's a small club. So he gets to roll 4 dice. And in addition to this, since he has 4 successes, he only needs 1 to hit, so he gets an extra 3 damage dice. So 4 plus 3 is 7. Let's see if somebody can actually do damage this time. Hey! 4! That's great. So he's managed to deal 4 damage so far. There's 4 damage on the table that the Ravnos could take. Luckily we know that thanks to his amazing stamina and a bit of fortitude, he gets to roll 6 dice to try and soak it. Ooh, unfortunate for him, he can only soak 2 damage. So what does this mean? Well, it means he takes damage. But vampires have an additional bonus to them. While there are 3 kinds of damage in this game, this is representing bashing, this represents lethal damage, and this represents aggravated. This is listed in order of mild, not great, and you're fucked. You do not ever want to take on aggravated damage. It is bad. Do not try. So, we're just going to clear the damage for the moment. He's only managed to soak 2 of the damage, which means that 2 damage has gotten through. Now, vampires have one additional thing going for them. Because the police officer clubbed him, it's only bashing damage. If he'd stabbed him with a knife, this would be a little different. Or if he'd burned him with fire, it'd be a lot different. Since 2 damage is bled through, we actually only need to take off 1. Any bashing damage inflicted to a vampire is halved. The undead constitution prevails. Now, as you'll notice, there are negatives here next to a lot of these. And this is actually a negative to your dice pool. So let's say, for example, that our police officer had been wounded. He's at wounded. This means that we go over here, and I reduce his dice pool by -2. All of his rolls are now modified by this. It's unfortunate. The more damage you take, the worse you start to perform. Once you're crippled, you have a -5 dice pool, meaning that most actions become incredibly hard. There are very few actions you can take. Like with, if I were crippled, I wouldn't even be able to shoot a gun, because I only have 5 dice, and that's -5 dice. I would be lucky enough to be able to swing a sword, but I'd only have a single die to roll. Not great odds. So you have to kind of work on that. Gotta keep an eye on that. So, now, there are other types of damage, but aggravated can only be suffered by undead. In particular, vampires. Vampires generally only suffer aggravated damage from fire and sunlight, though certain disciplines can inflict aggravated. So you have to watch out. Now, let's say we got tired of fighting this cop. Why don't we have a quick look here? Let's use Fata Morgana. The player spends a willpower point and a blood point to create this. The player spends 1 blood point to make the illusion move in one specific way. So, let's get cocky here. This is real easy. We're going to spend a willpower and 2 blood. That's fine. We have the resources to burn. So, because we're spending a willpower, we reduce this. This is unaffected. This is permanent. Your willpower does come back. It can be regenerated. We also must spend 2 points of blood to do this. This is actually a line you can spend too, because of his generation. I haven't gotten a generation yet, though. I'll get to that. Don't worry about it. So we've spent 2 blood points to use this. And we're just going to say a donut truck drives by. And I'm going to make the cop roll a self-control check out of hilarity. I didn't actually give him any virtues, but oh well. There. There, he has virtues. So we're going to have the cop roll a self-control check. He only has to roll 3 dice here. 4, 4, and an 8. Well, I can adjust the difficulty here. So let's say the difficulty should be higher, because he's a cop, right? Cops love donuts. So we'll make it +3. What does that do? Well, if I roll again... 8, 7, 8. Difficulty is 9. That means only 9 and 10s are successes. So, the difficulty of certain rolls is modified. Some rolls can be very easy, a difficulty of 3, 4, or 5. 6 is considered average. 7, 8, or even 9 are possible difficulties. Rather tricky to do. Unfortunately, he didn't make the difficulty check. So now he's distracted and runs after the donut truck, effectively ending combat. Ain't that great? The mystical power of chemistry. I don't ever actually recommend trying that. It won't work in game, but you know, purposes of example for how to use this is more so what I'm getting at, and be a little hilarious on the side. Yes. So we've got a pretty successful little dude here. He's fine. The other thing that vampires can do is they can heal themselves. They can regenerate. And since I've decided to remove that, I just have to subtract a single point of blood. I can heal bashing and lethal damage just simply by taking out a single point of blood. So no matter how wounded I am, I can always just sort of regenerate myself as long as I have blood. That's what being a vampire is all about, getting the blood. Aggravated damage, however, is special. You have to spend 3 points of blood, a point of willpower, and it takes a full day to heal. Aggravated is a monster kind of damage. You do not want to take it on. You want to avoid it at all costs. There are no medics. There are no healers. You're responsible for your own shit. If you can't regenerate yourself, you're in trouble. Just throwing that out there. You can also set your own custom pogs. Although we have a variety available, you can also just simply click this button to open a folder and import your own if you'd prefer. Alright. Lovely character we have here. And he's proven pretty good. Alright. Also, in addition to this, the character sheet comes with common rules. In particular, for example, there's the ability for different things. Say you have an SMG or an assault rifle. You can do an automatic fire, which actually lets you roll 15 dice. I just double-click this, and 15 dice are rolled. Holy shit, 10 successes. Man, do I wish I rolled that well normally. Damn. Whereas, say, just firing regularly, if we just double-click here, you got 5 dice. 10, 6... Jesus Christ. That's plus 9 damage dice. Yeesh. Ugh. There's also physical feats, such as, say, forcefully opening a door, mental feats, hacking, researching things, carousing, seduction, what have you. Where is it? Yes, hunting. Very important one indeed. As that will be the primary source of how you get blood. In fact, you can actually just double-click this to roll initiative. And it tells you what your initiative is. Ta-da! It's great. So the character sheet will allow you to do some things automatically. There are more pages of it, but for the most part, you won't have to worry too much about it unless you're playing a Tremere or a Giovanni. In which case, paths actually matter. Outside of that, yeah, that's pretty much how the game works. There's a lot of stuff to it, and I hope some people will be interested in joining in this weekend. Anyway, I have been your lovely host, Kailvin, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation of Vampire the Masquerade. This has been your lovely host, Kailvin, signing off.